What's going on, guys? Jeff here for Mad Hatter's Reef, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 5 essential pieces of equipment when you're talking about setting up a Pico reef tank. Whoa! What is going on, guys? Jeff here at Mad Hatter's Reef, and today we got a brand new video for you. But before we jump into all of that, if this is your first time being here, this is where I talk about everything reef tank related. So if you love reef tanks like I do, make sure you smash that subscribe button and the bell so you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. Now today we're talking about 5 essential pieces of equipment that you need when you are looking to set up a Pico reef tank. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So if you're just kind of jumping into this and actually haven't seen the last couple of videos, you may be asking yourself, what exactly is a Pico reef tank? Now, a Pico reef tank is a tank that is 3 gallons or less, and pretty much anything bigger than that, up to about 30 gallons, is considered a nano reef tank. Now, there's nothing official stating that a 3-gallon or less is a Pico, and anything bigger than that is a nano, up to 30 gallons or even sometimes 40 gallons. It's really a hobbyist generated set of guidelines that have kind of created these genres of tank sizes. And this is very similar to what we've done with corals in the aspect of SPS and LPS corals. Those are not scientific terms. They don't define a species of coral. They are just hobby generated terms that help us figure out what is what. So as far as today goes, what we're going to be doing is looking at the most essential pieces of equipment that are going to help you set up and maintain a Pico reef tank. It's going to be pretty basic, but as far as the items that are going to be on this list, there are going to be links to them in the description below if you want to check them out. Coming in at number 5 on the 5 essential items for a Pico reef tank setup is a thermometer. Now, there's a lot of different types of thermometers out there. Me personally, I prefer the digital type, and this one isn't too expensive. It's actually a pretty decent price point. They're not going to break the bank. It's relatively cheap, and it doesn't hurt to have a couple of these kicking around. I have 2 of these in most of my systems. Usually I put one in the sump and one in the display unit, but with a Pico reef tank, you only need one, and that's going to pretty much hold you over as far as a digital thermometer goes. As far as a display, as far as being a small aquarium and trying to keep as much equipment out of it as you possibly can, I like the fact that this thermometer has a good length of cord, so you have that probe. You're able to place that probe somewhere within the rockwork. It's not going to stand out due to its black coloration. And then you can have the digital readout outside of the Pico reef tank, somewhere maybe on the base or even around the back corner. But either way, you're going to be able to see what the temperature is in that reef tank and rather quickly be able to recognize what the temperature is within that aquarium. Coming in at number 4 on the 5 essential items for a Pico reef tank, and that is a water fountain pump. Now, this pump specifically is very small and has a very tiny footprint, which isn't going to take up a lot of space in a Pico reef tank. Water movement isn't the biggest necessity, and especially with the right coral selection and the right invertebrate and fish selection, you are going to find that a small pump such as this one that only uses about 5 watts of power is going to be enough to move that water in a way that is going to help the corals be healthy, remove the waste from them, and create enough flow within a small vessel that is going to give you the right amount of water flow. Now, small water pumps are not the only way to get water moving around in a Pico reef tank. A simple air pump, some tubing, and air stones is all you need really to make sure that that water is moving enough to keep the corals healthy, the fish oxygenated, and everybody in the tank looking good. Coming in at number 3 on the 5 essential items for a Pico reef tank is a small heater. Now, this heater itself is probably one of the smallest ones available that I could find on the interwebs, using only 5 watts. That's going to heat upwards of 2.5 gallons. Now, the build that I'm going to be putting together is 2 gallons. So this is going to just slightly be enough to heat that water to the appropriate 78 degrees. But if you were going to be putting a 1 gallon Pico Reef tank together, I think that this would be the perfect heater for that situation. It's not going to be over demanding, and it's going to be well within its acceptable range to maintain that heating level. But my concern is that for extended use, heaters are the one thing that is going to constantly fail you in this hobby, and going a little bit bigger is not a bad idea either. As far as heaters are concerned, a 15-watt heater is going to be ideal for a 5-gallon aquarium. So this actually could be a heater that is going to heat most of the Pico Reef tanks that are out there, and even hit some nano tanks for you large keeping aquarium folks out there. That's funny to think like that. But this heater, for me, may be the answer because I'm going to be putting together a 2-gallon aquarium. Now, the previous heater that we looked at, ideal for 2.5-gallon aquariums, and I'm not 100% certain that you can adjust the temperature on either one of these. So if you were to put the Pico Reef tank in a location that there are temperature fluctuations next to a door or a window, there may be a opportunity for that heater to become overworked and fail sooner than it really should. So a heater that is a little bit larger, like this 15-watt heater, may be the trick, especially if you end up putting that Pico Reef tank in a location where it could see temperature swings, because it being such a small vessel is going to be prone to temperature swings a lot more than it would be with a much larger aquarium. Coming in at number 2 on the 5 essential items for a Pico Reef tank setup is a light. Now, this light, specifically the Kessel A80 Tuna Blue, is probably one of the most sought after lights as far as nano tanks go, and even some Pico Reef tank setups. Now, the great thing about Kessel lights is they come with Kessel logic. Now, Kessel logic is the way in which the light is designed. It has to do with the spectrum, and you have the ability to increase or decrease the intensity, and also increase the blues or decrease the blues so it looks a little bit more white. But the Kessel logic is going to make sure that the corals within the tank are going to get the spectrum that they need, and that you maintain the success that you are looking for with this light. And that's what makes Kessel, or that's what sets Kessel apart from other LED fixtures out there. As far as for my build, I'm not going to be using a Kessel A80. I even know that this is a highly recommended light. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with my build, and you guys are going to have to stay tuned just so you can see what ends up happening with the Mad Hatter Pico Reef tank. Coming in at number 1 on the 5 essential items for a Pico Reef tank build is the vessel itself. Now, the interesting thing about Pico Reef tanks is they actually don't need to be in an aquarium, and they don't need to go with that conventional box theme. You can use just about anything that is reef safe and that you have the ability to see through. Now, for the Mad Hatter Reef build, this is the exact vessel that we are going to be using for our Pico Reef tank build. This is a 2-gallon jar that is available at Amazon and Walmart as well, and it isn't very expensive, and that's probably one of the best things about it. So we're going to be taking this jar, we're going to be turning it into a lovely reef tank, and we're going to be using the 5 essential items that we talked about and putting them all together in this, which is going to be the Mad Hatter Reef Pico tank. As far as the build, we're going to be documenting everything about it and going into great detail about the ins and outs of a Pico Reef tank, so you guys have a real world understanding of what it takes to maintain a Pico Reef tank. All right, guys, so the cat's kind of out of the bag with this one. I've been doing a number of Pico Reef tank videos over the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to be setting up a Pico Reef tank, and I'm going to be documenting the entire build here on YouTube. Now, the jar that we featured in today's video is actually going to be the Pico Reef tank. It's going to be a 2-gallon Pico Reef tank, and I'm hoping to have that starting next week. So next week, the video that you guys will be watching will be me setting up my very first Pico Reef tank. Hopefully I can get some of the items that we talked about in today's video here in time so we can get that set up, cycled, and ready to go. So what I want from you guys is to jump onto the little notification thing that happens up in the corner. I think it's this corner. Probably isn't. It's probably this corner. But click on that, and I'm going to be doing a poll on a couple of different critters that we potentially could put into this Pico reef tank. So some of the things that we're going to be looking at with these polls is the type of fish that we're going to keep in this tank, potentially invertebrates and corals. And the last couple of weeks I've been putting out a ton of content based on my research that I have found what is good for a Pico reef tank, or what's going to do extremely well in that setting. So if you guys want to be in the know the next time that I upload a video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can be notified every time that I upload a new one. That is going to do it for today. I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you next week right here with a brand new video.